Your host, Danny Joseph.
Hey, welcome back. It's episode 3, Surviving Mondays. You guys are here. I'm glad you're here. Because you know why? We got another hot topic to discuss, man. We got a few topics that we want to go through. Of course, this is a new season 2. So we got a new format. We got What in the World today. We got some one-on-ones again in a game time. But the difference this time around, we got a new guest. So, new guest, how about you give yourself a little shout out? Who we got in the guest chair?
The name's Face. They call me Facey sometimes.
Yeah.
My real name's Donovan.
So you're dropping the government because I know you have a problem dropping the government.
It's cool. I'm on Surviving Mondays.
Okay. All right. Well, if you guys didn't already know, let's give a little background on Donovan. Donovan actually is the new member of season 2. He's actually been helping us with the behind the scenes. If you guys seen the promo on our Instagram, he was actually directing that promo. So he's actually the new person on board on Surviving Monday. But we felt like putting him in the guest chair today is the best choice because we got some great topics we want to talk about. And, definitely we're excited. So let's jump right into what in the world, man.
Real quick, before you start, great intro.
Thank you.
I
appreciate it. So we're jumping straight into what in the world, man. And the first topic we're going to talk about today is Trump and Kanye versus hip hop.
Straight into politics.
Yeah, man. It's not so much politics as opposed to what this means for the hip hop community. I know you're an avid listener of hip hop, so just getting your take on things is going to be kind of interesting. So first and foremost, the reason we say Trump and Kanye versus hip hop, because we notice obviously it's no secret Kanye West has pledged his allegiance to the Trump administration, to our president, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately only due to the fact that there's a lot of controversy with the whole presidency in general. And whether you're pro-Trump or you're against Trump, that's not really the important part in this, because we're going to start this conversation. I want both sides to kind of understand where we're coming from. So at least when it comes to Trump's side, I mean, a lot is attached negatively to Trump, which we can go for hours on that. It's easy. Yeah. But one thing I do want to do is kind of shed some light on Trump and some of the things he's actually been passing. Since I want to say in the last 2 years, Trump's passed a lot of things. I won't go into detail of a lot of what he's passed because, you guys would probably have to look that up for yourself so you get some proper information.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And some of the things that he's passed was like the No Human Trafficking on our Roads Act, which prevents anybody who was convicted as a human trafficker not to be able to drive, preventing them from continuing that human trafficking cycle. So I think that's something that's really interesting to actually look into.
They shouldn't even be on the streets.
Yeah, exactly.
In the first place.
Well, at least count this as maybe steps towards, improving on human trafficking, because human trafficking it's actually very serious nowadays. We got young black women, young black girls, young black men, young white women, young white girls.
Very young too.
Just in general, women are very targeted, but young kids are very targeted in general. So he's also passed things like the African American Civil Rights Networking Act. Also 400 Years of African American History Commission Act, which is a positive step forward to make sure that people are acknowledging African American civil rights and the influence it has on our education and things of that nature. So if you guys are interested in actually finding out more things about what he's passed, you should definitely look it up. I know CNN has their own posts. That the one that I checked out was posted, I think, like January of 2018. So you could probably find out a more recently updated act listing of what he's been able to act. But to kind of give a little bit of reference, though, I think it's kind of interesting because Trump has passed a lot within a short amount of time. And I think it's very interesting because if you look at the Obama administration, it seemed like Obama was constantly in struggle with the office about passing things that he was trying to do to improve things. In your own opinion, do you feel like Trump being able to easily pass these acts as opposed to Obama, that shines positively more on Trump, and that it may shine a light that's kind of false because it's different circumstances compared to Obama?
Well, last time I checked, I remember there was more Republicans in the House than Democrats. Mm-hmm. And I know it has to be a winning vote.
Yeah.
So if it's something that the Republicans are going to like, then
they're going to
Republicans are always going to win regardless.
Yes.
Even Trump was a Democrat at one time, and I think he just recently switched over to, or he was Democrat, now he switched over to Republican. And I think that was one of the reasons why he did that, so he could get more acts passed. Got
you. So, if anything, it was a more strategic move on Trump's end, in a sense that he knew once he gets into the office, that it'll be easier to do things.
That's my little theory.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense, though. It makes sense. And we see it. It's in our face, because how he's able to make as big of a change in such a little amount of time. I feel like he's made more change than Obama has in 8 years than he has in like 2 years.
Yes,
and that's nothing towards Obama, but it just shows the influence of when the House is with you as opposed to against you, and how hard it is to pass things. But, that was just a little brief history with what's going on with Trump. But as it relates to Kanye, obviously wearing the MAGA hat, Make America Great Again. And that the hip hop community is tearing him a new one. I mean, Snoop Dogg is an avid rival against Kanye right now, because he's not trying to have it.
It's just sad to see, because in his earlier days it looked like he seemed to be like pro-black, like very, very strong. Like if we were back in the days, he'll be a Panther type of strong. Yeah. To now just like turning our back on us or turning the shoulder or something like that.
Exactly. I mean, and you could see that especially when when Bush was in office. And that iconic interview he had on TV, live TV, saying Bush doesn't care about black people. And I remember, I think it was...
You could tell he was nervous too.
He was. And I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. I think he had an interview with Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel brought it up. He said, why, when it was Bush and you profoundly said Bush doesn't care about black people, what makes Trump so different? And it actually left Kanye West... He was quiet. He didn't know what to say. It left him blank.
I never seen that, but that sounds very interesting.
It's on YouTube, and Jimmy Kimmel just flat out just said it. He's just like, so what's the difference in this case? And Kanye had no rebuttal.
Did they go to commercial after that?
No. It got awkward, and everybody started laughing, because it was like, all right, checkmate. Like he got him. So that was actually really interesting to hear, because
that's
like,
what makes Kanye so interesting. Like, what is he doing?
But it also poses the question, like, okay, is Kanye doing these things because people tell him not to? Because Kanye has a history of doing things that people explicitly say, hey, don't do that, because it's gonna affect you in certain. Exactly. So it's like, is he doing it just out of spite, or is he doing it from a general want to actually make America great again?
My personal opinion is, I think he's doing it for attention. Yeah. I think he's trying to get the spotlight more on him. As you can see, his numbers from his albums just dropped. Drastically. And I think it also has a part of him wanting to be a president. He's seen how easily Trump won, so I think he's trying to jump on Trump's side. That way he gets majority of the votes.
And it's weird, because he recently visited the White House to actually have some conversations with our president, Trump. And just the interactions, I don't know if anybody feels a certain type of way, if anybody's seen the video, but his interactions were just it just seemed a little forced. He's like, hey, he's my friend. He's my buddy. This is my guy. This is, Trump's my friend. He's my buddy. And it's just like, I get it. Like, if you support Trump, that's one thing. But like, if I went to the White House, at no point when Obama was in office, at no point if I went to the White House would it be like, Obama's my friend. He's my best friend. He's my guy. No, it's just like, that's just extra. Like, you don't have to go above and beyond to go ahead and state that. Like, if you support him, you support him. But I feel like that in itself was very forged. Very, it's like, I feel like maybe they looked at a hip hop legend who was easily taintable. And if they can get a hip hop legend on board with the Trump administration, hopefully that could sway the hip hop community, which, in all actuality right now, it's causing the opposite. It's making us even more against what's going on. And if anything, it's ruining his image.
Do you think he got paid for it?
Do I think he's getting paid for it? I think it's beyond that. I think it's one of those, like, they're trying to show him the benefits of doing so, whether it be, like you said, helping with record sales, whether it be, hey, man,
it didn't.
Because you get, it really didn't. And if you look at it, prior to all this, Kanye was struggling. He had financial troubles. It was well known. He was having issues with. He wasn't even creating music as much at that point. Which is
all he needed to do.
Exactly. But I feel like this might be in itself a publicity stunt. And it's not like we haven't seen, no offense to them, but the Kardashians do publicity stunts. It's not out of the ballpark for Kanye to do a publicity stunt on his own. So it just doesn't add up.
It's a lot of questions in here.
Yeah.
And some of them are pretty much impossible to answer. For us to answer. I know people higher than us would know, but that's what makes this a big conspiracy. Like, what's really going on?
Yeah.
I would never watch something like Trump and Kanye meeting up because that would probably aggravate me, but I do want to know what's going on.
Yeah,
everybody's asking the question. Everybody wants to know.
Well, and unfortunately, I will say this because the media plays things to stir up animosity. So it's what I've noticed from this is they'll take certain points because they know in certain points of the interview process with Kanye and Trump that it was going to stir up animosity within the hip hop community and overall the Trump supporters. So it's just like you'll see moments where, again, like I was saying before, he's like, "Hey, that's my best friend, that's my buddy." You know how the hip hop community is going to take that. But there was actually some positive things that came out of that little conversation that they had. Some acts were actually passed on. I think it's in the midst of being passed, and it's actually to benefit artists in general to claim the royalties and things of that nature. So it's actually kind of interesting. I'm gonna pull that up right now. Is that we had the Music Modernization Act of 2018, which helps people claim the royalties through streaming music. So that also passed with the Classics Act. With Classics is a acronym for Compensating Legacy Artists for Their Songs, Service, and Important Contributions to Society Act. Then on top of that, they also passed the AMP Act, which AMP is also a acronym for Allocation for Music Producers Act. So it's not just the artists, but it's the producers and things of that nature. So I'm assuming within the music community, that must have been an issue once streaming music became so popular.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of interesting. So it's like that doesn't get the light of day as much as opposed to the juicy stuff that happened during the interview to stir up that animosity. So I think it's kind of interesting how the media is twisting things.
Yeah.
For people to then be very hostile towards each other, whether they're associated with the hip hop community or the Trump Association, or even both. Maybe you're able to do both. I don't know. I haven't really met a person to do so, but supposedly, what's up?
That just makes me believe more that he is trying to use Trump to his benefit.
Yeah,
because I remember I read an article somewhere that he also asked Trump to. I forgot the guy's name. It was to get somebody out of jail. He's actually a big time drug dealer, like one of the most famous in the U.S. To free him because he was doing good in the community.
Yeah,
and for Kanye to ask Trump to release somebody like that just stirred my curiosity some more. Like I think he is just trying to use Trump, and I think he is trying to help, but I think the way he's going about it isn't terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's terrible.
I mean, you never know. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, 5-10 years down the road, we can end up finding that Kanye was the reason why good things happen.
Yeah.
We just don't know. But right now, like you said, how he's going about it.
I think he lost a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to forgive him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think if he has a master plan and that master plan was to help a large sum of people, then, it'll be a little bit more forgiving. We just didn't like the way he went about it.
Even if he was successful, I still believe that some people would just
because
I've deleted music.
Yeah, I think this permanently stained his name.
Yeah,
regardless,
I unfollowed him on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean it's too much.
You get tired of seeing that stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and it's one of those things. I think it's interesting due to the fact, like you said, Kanye did bring up and mention trying to release somebody. I was reading on that same article on CNN that I guess topics of discussion were also gang violence, to reduce the violence in Chicago, and prison reform.
That's another thing with Kanye for me. I feel like he's only trying to help Chicago.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's I think that's wrong. But.
Well, I think it's also interesting too, because when this whole backlash of him supporting Trump happened, you notice that he started doing more things with Chance the Rapper, who's such a positive icon for Chicago. And that's where I get I take a step back because I'm very observant. So I see it's like, why all of a sudden you want to bring Chance the Rapper and into this? When things are hitting the fan for you. Yeah. It's like, is that being genuine? Oh, is that all coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence. And it's just like how you're moving is very suspect. So Kanye, he definitely has to redo how he's stepping because I don't.
Now he's just like a shady person. Yeah. I don't know what he was like before, but I feel like everything's coming to light. Even the whole Drake thing too. Mm-hmm.
Which is actually funny that you brought that up because to move on to the next subject, Drake and Pusha T, that beef has been brought back to light, right? So Drake just recently did an interview with LeBron, kind of discussing what's going on, the whole what really happened between him and Kanye and Pusha T. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because a lot of things got shed to light. So I mean, to begin with, I think it was a great interview. I actually enjoyed it. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little biased, so I want people listening to understand. I'm a little biased towards Drake. I actually bumped Drake super heavy when I was in middle school, high school. I was a Drake fan, and then at some point, I kind of took a step back because how Drake was moving, I wasn't really feeling the vibe. And then when the Pusha T beef happened, I lost a lot of respect for Drake. And
how do you feel about the last album?
Scorpion. I like the last half. I like the R&B half of it. I thought the first half wasn't bad, but it wasn't something I'm gonna repeatedly go back to. So this one, compared to all his bodies of work, skippable. Like if I had to only choose 2 albums from him to live with, not choosing Scorpion. Definitely not.
I thought it was completely trash.
Which I understand. I completely understand, and it was hard
compared to what Drake used to put out, or did put out.
Exactly,
it's terrible.
And that's my concern with him. It's just like when I was listening to it, I just couldn't keep a consistent mood. Now, again, I don't want to be a Drake hater. This is not the point of this topic.
I don't hate Drake, but I hate that album. Yeah, I don't hate it. I just don't like it.
You didn't enjoy it, which I understand. And when he was talking about in the actual interview itself, he was talking about being a single father. Yeah. Which is kind of weird. When Drake is like, I'm a single father, and this, that, and the third. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? It's like Drake is a single father. But, again, if you listen to episode 1 when we were talking to Pete, single fathers, stepfathers, they're making a comeback, man. And, if anything, it's interesting because he also brought up the irony of parenthood. Yeah. Because he's always had resentment towards his father. About how he treated his mom and like the relationship with his mom and just not having a full household. Then you didn't find out that he has I think it was a porn star or like a stripper for a wife or whatever. Nothing towards her, and her profession. But, now he's also a single father going through the same things, and that cycle kind of repeats. I think that's interesting because it shows the influence of a household and how you're brought up, because subconsciously, sometimes you fall in line of what you grew up around. Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. But he also mentioned in the interview how Kanye deceived him. So Kanye went ahead and I guess he sent him a beat. It was Lift Yourself. It was an instrumental of Lift Yourself. Fire beat. Yeah, it was a really dope beat. So I guess he sent that to Drake, had Drake actually come out to Wyoming, help him out with some of the music. 40, I guess, tipped him off saying, I think he's working on an album. Yeah. So, but they continue to help him. They left Wyoming.
Which should have been a warning sign right there.
Yeah, it really was. They left Wyoming with the Lift Yourself beat. And as Drake was working on it, I guess he dropped his own Lift Yourself, song to troll Drake. Like, hey, I just gave you this instrumental, but guess what? I have a song for it. Yeah. And the sad part was Lift Yourself was such a good instrumental.
Drake would have killed it too.
He would have definitely killed it. But what happened? He pooped the scoop. Yeah. Actually, Les, if you have a moment, can you play that real quick? I think
this next verse though, these bars. Watch this.
Trolling.
Whoopie dee scoop, scoop dee dee whoop, whoop dee scoop dee poop, whoop dee scoop dee whoop. Whoopie dee scoop.
Thank you, Les. Thank you, Les.
That's why I don't listen to Kanye no more.
Yeah, because he's like, you had such a good instrumental who could have had someone like really destroy that, but you trolled him to the, and it's Kanye being Kanye, he trolls. So the fact that he did poopity scoop on such a great beat to someone he sent of that magnitude, complete troll. That goes without question. But I think it's interesting too
That's
because
how you know Kanye's shady.
How he's moving and whatnot. But also, I think it was suspect too the fact that Drake also told him about his project before he dropped it, and then the minute he told about his kid,
they had a full conversation.
Full conversation, exactly. And the fact that once he told him about the project, then everybody who Kanye was already helping with projects, Teyana Taylor, I think her name is Pusha, then they released their music right before Drake's as competition.
I think it was around. I think somewhere before and somewhere after.
Okay, perfect. And exactly, just to compete with Drake's album, so that super shady. But also just the fact that Pusha T had information about Drake's son to drop in a diss track, then it's like, okay, did he go too far? Do you feel like there's rules to rap beefs and things of that nature?
Watching it growing up, I believe there's no rules.
Yeah.
But nowadays, there's definitely rules.
As you grow and you see that in families.
And that's how you know Pusha T was losing really bad.
Yeah.
Because he had to bring that out.
Yeah.
There could have been at least 2 or 3 more songs after that.
Now, I would say, I still feel like Pusha T's track was fire. It was just really well thought out. No, not the infrared, but the one where he showed the blackface and like replied back to Duffy Freestyle. But I thought that was good. I thought it was well thought out. A lot of people didn't really like it because it didn't have like a catchy like mainstream flow.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
Using that picture, that was perfect.
Yes, and that's where I lost a lot of respect for Drake because regardless of what's going on, how low someone went, the fact that you did blackface and you didn't, to me, he didn't properly address it. He did an IG story, but blackface is a very appalling image in the black community, which you're a part of. And for you just give an IG story, I would love to see you mention that in the interview and properly address that, but I didn't get that. So for me personally, I lost a lot of respect for Drake. And if you guys don't know too much about blackface, please go check that out. It's actually Hollywood depicting African Americans before African Americans really had the rights that they had. But so I mean, I think it was also interesting though, after Drake claimed that it was Kanye who leaked that information, then shortly after you had Pusha T in an interview claiming that it was actually 40 pillow talking the information to one of his side chicks or whatever they was, you know what I'm saying? But when you just finish that thing, you feel me? You just hold it up, you know what I'm saying? You get real comfortable with the chick, you feel me? And you just start talking. And I guess that came up and she went ahead and snitched to Pusha T. I think that's interesting because if that's true, that makes Drake kind of take a step back because now you kind of still look stupid in a sense because Kanye's still foul for a lot of what he did.
I thought that Drake interview came out second.
No, the Drake interview came out to address all that, and then Pusha recently just did that, and he went ahead and said, no, it's actually 40 who pillow talked on your ass. So it's interesting. I mean,
but is Pusha looking out for Kanye?
Yeah, I would. I mean, it's automatically biased. I think he
would you snitch on Kanye or your enemy's friend?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like whose name would you put in there? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because Drake also said that it was for sure Kanye because he had a conversation with him.
Yes, exactly. So, and I'm waiting on I want actual facts because this right now, that's what he claimed. I want actual facts to prove that it was 40 who was pillow talking. I won't write it off because, hey, that does sound somewhat believable.
We need to stop talking about it, and they need to make songs.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, again, guys, this is food for thought, just to spur up a conversation. If you guys are at home listening, by all means, think about it, look into it, see what's really going on, because I think that's this whole Kanye, Trump, Drake versus Kanye. Everybody's so much animosity within just the hip hop community, but in our nation altogether. I think it's a good conversation to have. So definitely, if you guys have anything to say, drop a comment below in the video itself, or if you guys want to go on my Instagram and drop a comment on the video itself. By all means, we're always open. We read everything. But that was What in the World. So we're gonna take a quick break. And we're gonna go straight into one-on-one where we can kind of get to know our guest, Donovan Facey.
Come on. Boy, was my face red.